short video, I'd like to illustrate to you the impact of making payments on a loan that are greater than the calculated payment that's necessary to satisfy the provisions of the loan. In other words, you take out a loan, you calculate the payment you're going to need for that payment to exactly pay off in the time period stipulated in the loan. But what if you paid extra? And of course, this assumes that the extra money goes to reducing the principal, which is always a question you should ask your lender. So to illustrate that, let's start with, and pardon my handwriting, but let's borrow $50,000. 50,000 at a rate equal to 7%. I didn't get that 50 very good, did I? We'll start over and I'll get that 50,000 looking a little more like 50. And we're going to borrow that at 7% interest for a term of 20 years. All right. So you know in the calculator that goes in like this. This is a $50,000 present value. 7 is the interest rate per year, and 20 is in. And what you want to do is compute payment, and it'll be equal to, that payment will be equal to $4,719. Actually, it's $4,720 if you round it. Okay? Now, you know you're going to write that check for $47.19 20 times. So if you were to come in here and multiply that by 20, what you would get is $94,393. Now, if you subtract the original $50,000 of principal that you borrowed, you'll see that you're going to pay $44,393, and I'll just label that as total interest over the life of that loan. Now, suppose for a moment that you could pay more than the $47.19. So let's just suppose that you said, hey, I think I can pay $5,500 each one of those payments. Well, the extra money goes to principal every single payment. So what happens is the principal will get to zero quicker than the 20 years. So to determine that, here's how you would solve this. You would simply have a $50,000 present value. Now you probably need to make that a negative. Doesn't really matter. The payment could be a negative. You're going to have a $5,500 payment, and you're going to have a 7 interest rate per year. And now you're going to compute the N. And when you compute N, it's going to be 14.95 years. Now here's where where this will be interesting. So if the loan now is going to pay off in 14.95 years, and because you paid more every year and the principal reduced faster, you're going to pay a lot less interest. So you're going to make a payment of $5,500, but now you're going to make it 14.95 times. So come in and multiply that by 5,500. Okay? And what you'll get is $82,233. Right? If you subtract the original principal of $50,000 that you borrowed, you'll see the interest now is $32,233. And again, I'll label that total interest. Now take a look at the difference it makes. If you take the $44,393, and this is the amount of interest you would have paid if you paid the loan off just exactly the way it was set up and made the minimum payment of $47.19. And if you subtract from that the $32,233, and this would be the interest you would pay if you paid $5,500, the difference is $12,160. In other words, this is the amount of interest that you would save by paying more each month on that loan. And so by adding another, well, about $800 to your payment each one of those years, What you would do is you would pay the loan off in a little less than 5 years. In other words, you basically shave 5 years off of the loan, a little more, and you save $12,160 in interest by making that additional payment. Now, in class purposes, I'm going to ask you to do some calculations on a loan making an accelerated payment. So be sure you can work through and get the numbers here, and you understand how to eventually get to a point where you calculate the amount of savings in interest and how much shorter the loan is when you make the additional payments.